10 Tips to Get the Best from Your Tarot Reading. Written by Angie Anderson. www.readmatarot.co.uk. Destiny is not a matter of chance, it is a matter of choice. It is not a thing to be waited for, it is a thing to be achieved. William Jennings Bryan, 1860, 1925. Fundamental premise. This may seem an odd way to begin to explain how to understand your tarot cards reading. Yet in my previous house I put this quote on a small printed card and stuck it on the glass pane of the front door so it could be read from outside. I positioned it just beside the doorbell so visitors would see it. On many occasions the person visiting for a tarot reading would comment on the quote and sometimes be a little confused. After all, it does sound a bit like a contradiction. They thought they were coming to me for a prediction in the hope that I would be able to tap into their future destiny and reveal where life was taking them. Surely, they would ask, destiny is something out there in the future and we are each heading towards it? I'd explain that we each have the choice to either to choose to direct our lives or to let circumstances dictate for us. So what can the tarot tell me? I'd then be asked. Will it tell me my future? My reply would be, the tarot will open a window through which to view the energy that you are projecting into your world and give a snapshot of the likely circumstances which are in the process of unfolding. These are possible outcomes, not necessarily hard and fast predictions. This comes about because we all create our future with our thoughts. Thoughts are fundamentally electrical signals which, if strong enough or persistent enough, and especially if reinforced by powerful emotion, create your reality. Yet most of the time we are not aware we are doing so. We unfortunately get into habitual ways of thinking that don't always match our true desires. The purpose of a reading is to expose to the light your current thoughts and feelings that are making your reality. The reader's role is to tell the story that the cards offer. Because I myself totally trust this process, I know that the cards will come out according to what the client needs to see. I know it's the client's energy which is creating the outcome, including the layout of the cards. I keep my energy still and remain neutral to allow this. The reading is guided by your need for clarification and answers to questions. The cards simply provide a reflection of your current emotional state. If that current energy vibration continues on the same wavelength, it can give an insight to the potential unfolding of events. So tip no. 1 is. Always remember that your future is designed by you and created by your energy field, not by any outside force. It's your energy that dictates which cards come out of the pack. What is a soul? It's like electricity. We don't really know what it is, but it's a force that can light a room. Ray Charles, 1930–2004. Where to get a reading? Depending on where you receive your reading can make a difference to your card layout. If you have a reading at a psychic fair, then these surroundings will create a different type of energy than if your reading was done in a quiet room, somewhere private. If you have a reading in your own home, then be sure to create a space where you will not be interrupted or disturbed. You have the most control over this situation, and so make the best of it and be sure to allow yourself to relax beforehand so you can be open to the message from the reading. If you go to someone else's home for your reading, then hopefully it will be in a space that feels comfortably neutral. The more ordinary the better, in my opinion. Because if the space is too mystical and esoteric, it can sometimes feel intimidating for a visitor. In my experience, there's a huge cross-section of people who are now open to what the tarot can tell them. I've done readings for high-flying businessmen and women, single parents, friends, couples together at the same sitting, not always wise, singles, gays, marrieds and hopefuls, transsexuals, other tarot readers, you name it. So an environment in which I feel comfortable, which is quiet and private, and where I am able to put the client at ease will in turn help the client to feel relaxed and have a good reading. I used to do mystic nights in pubs, and although I did many successful readings, I found it exhausting by the end of the evening. Although the landlord would usually provide a corner table out of the way, the energy required to blank out the general background noise and apply total concentration to the reading was very demanding. Psychic fairs can also be noisy places, though not as raucous as a pub. They are also highly charged with energy, this being a potent mix of the intense energy fields from both the readers and the people visiting. Some people are particularly sensitized to this powerful combination of energies and it can throw them a little off balance. All kinds of different people go to psychic fairs and those visiting for the first time may be a little spooked. That underlying edginess or any apprehension needs to be calmed so that the client's real issues can be addressed through the reading. A good reader will understand this and will have created a safer protected space around the reading area. This is not some kind of magic, but it comes from the knowledge and foresight of the reader. Personally, I will take a few quiet moments and breathe deeply whilst I ask for a calming energy field to create a sort of dome over the table to be a safe space for both me and the client. I trust that protection. A good reader will always do their own version of this. But readers are only human and they have their off days too. So if you've had a reading at a fair and it has troubled you, then it could be that your reading was influenced by any unease you may have felt about your surroundings. Any distraction and feelings of unease can act as a block to the free flowing of the reading. So it wouldn't be a bad idea for you to create a safe space around yourself when you visit a place where there is likely to be a confusion of seeking energies. In your imagination make a big bubble of pure loving energy to completely encase you, add colors if you wish, and only let into your space those with whom you are ready to share your space. Tip No. 2. Be aware that the environment in which your reading takes place can influence the reading. Take the best steps possible to ensure you feel comfortable and calm and can remain open to allow the cards to present to you a meaningful message. You must train your intuition, you must trust the small voice inside you which tells you exactly what to say, what to decide. Ingrid Bergman 1915, 1982. Finding a reader. The same careful consideration applies for choosing a reader, be sure you feel they are right for you. Most people will have an intuition and be drawn to certain readers, either by their appearance, their age, sex and general body language. If an appointment is made by phone then your intuition will work just as well by listening to the reader's voice. Ask plenty of questions about the reading before making appointments. This gives time for you to tune into your intuition so you are guided in making the right decision about who to choose to do your reading. If you're specifically hoping to try and reach a departed relative through the tarot, then tarot may not be the best choice, unless the tarot reader is also a medium. So be sure to check before you commit to an appointment. This might be the appropriate time to explain a little about the definitions of certain psychic powers. Most tarot readers use some kind of sixth sense to interpret the cards. I choose not to use the word psychic too often because it implies that the reader has special hidden powers to foresee the future. This can sometimes put the reader on a pedestal and the client receiving the reading in an imagined lesser and vulnerable position. Sixth sense is not exclusive to psychic readers. I believe anyone with a strong desire can learn to listen to the universe and allow these communications to flow. It requires a state of inner calm and a willingness to still the mind, similar to the meditative state, often called alpha state. The term clairvoyant is often used as collective description to cover several abilities: clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience or clairempathy. There are other less common clairs, clair meaning clear, but here I will briefly touch on the most common ones. Indeed, many readers, although dominant in one area, involuntarily use a combination of some or all of them in varying proportion, depending on the content of the reading. Clairvoyance, clear seeing, is the reader's ability to allow visual images, impressions or symbols to communicate information, usually through the mind's inner eye. Though in the case of tarot there is much assistance from the imagery on the cards themselves. Clairaudience, clear hearing, is the perceiving of sounds through the inner ear, often heard internally as snatches of sentences or phrases. Clairsentience or clairempathy, clear feeling, is when a reader perceives information by feeling or sensation within the body, or can sense emotionally the experience of a person or place. There are other ways of receiving information using other inner senses, for example taste, smell, touch. Some people's sixth sense expresses through the perception of color. A medium is someone who communicates with the spirit world, and usually does not give readings. Mediums will often use a combination of perceptions to communicate with spirit world. They provide a bridge between the worlds and relay messages of comfort and reassurance to the living. Channeling is when a pathway opens, usually through trance, to allow a spirit guide or entity to speak through the medium. Be clear and honest with yourself about what you are looking for through a reading. Are you wishing to communicate with spirit world? Are you looking for clarity about a situation you feel blocked over? Are you interested in knowing what options are opening up for you in your future? Tip note 3 is, choose a reader according to your needs. You need to resonate with the reader you choose. Confidence, like art, never comes from having all the answers, it comes from being open to all the questions. Earl Grey Stevens. The cards tell a story. Asking for a definitive yes/no answer has the effect of you asking permission for an outcome. So the question is coming from a position of insecurity and doubt within yourself, as if you are seeking approval. A question requiring a simple yes/no answer forestalls the process and can rob you of valuable insights. If you already have in mind what you would choose as your answer, that is yes or no, then is it not better for you to phrase your question in a way that will help you achieve your desired outcome? An example would be, what could I do to make it possible for such and such to happen? A little explanation here as to why this way of asking is important. The cards respond to your energy. You cannot trick them into being sure about an answer if you yourself are unsure. But if you have a strong desire for something to happen, yet have doubts as to whether it will happen, and then you still go ahead and ask a yes/no question, the cards could go either way depending on your confidence level on that day. Now, if the cards were to say no, this could reinforce your doubt and thus become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Or they may give a contradictory answer. That could leave you in limbo and feeling insecure, simply because you didn't get a positive yes answer and an approval of your request. So the most constructive question you can ask is, what is the best way to go about attaining my desire? In this way you will remain open to receive the best possible advice for your question rather than limiting the answer. Then you will hopefully have more information on which to make your decision. This also applies if there's a situation you are trying to change that involves another person. If you want another person to behave, or not behave, in a certain way, there are constructive ways to pose your questions rather than asking why they are acting in a certain way. If you feel someone else is causing your problem, try to avoid focusing on them and instead focus on yourself and ask how you can help the situation improve or resolve. Asking questions about a specific issue can provide you with an opportunity to be clear about what you want and what options are available to you. This can lead to constructive alternatives for future actions and decisions and helps clear your energy so that you can attract the life you want to live. When the cards are laid out in a reading, it's a blending of meanings rolled together to become a story. Each card has its own meaning. Each position the card is in also has a relative meaning. And every reader has their own particular way that they read and interpret the cards. So the reader is a facilitator who, together with being sensitive to energy vibrations, has learnt to translate the language of the cards. When you have chosen your reader and you are having your reading, trust that you are in the right place at the right time. You have created the energy in your life to bring you to that place and moment, and so it is right. Don't doubt it. This will keep you open to receive what the cards wish to reflect to you. The message comes from your higher self through the cards to communicate to you. Tip for ask positive open questions. Trust the process. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Change. In today's busy world, everyone seems in a rush. It's the get me there fast, I don't have time to be fixed scenario. In some ways this follows on from the previous tip of trusting the process. The process of change can take time. If what you are wanting has been a long time in coming, then hoping a tarot reading will change it by telling you what you want to hear is not a realistic expectation. When someone is stuck, they are not allowing life to flow. Some may be desperate for something to happen or change in their life, or they may be holding back from doing something they want and thus creating a contradiction of energy within themselves. What the tarot may reveal, if you ask the right questions, is how to open a pathway forward. By phrasing your questions constructively, stuck energy can begin to flow again. The flow may not always take you directly to where you want to go, or events may take you in a completely different direction. If your energy has been blocked for some time, your habitual thoughts have most likely been contributing to the blocked feeling. It might take a little time to reverse the flow. The sooner you can relax and go with the flow, then your life can be allowed to unfold without pressure. You may receive some amazing surprises by simply trusting your higher self to lead instead of trying to work things out in a logical way. Most tarot readers are aware that some people who book a tarot reading may be feeling vulnerable or in distress and seeking reassurance. This is understandable because there are times when we all feel vulnerable. Because of this, I have chosen my tarot deck carefully. I have several decks, but I've settled on one which I find reliable and non-threatening. By non-threatening I mean that the images on the cards are not overly dark and dramatic. The images on my cards are reasonably easy to interpret, even for a non-tarot card reader. I often point out certain details within the picture to bring attention to a certain aspect of the card's meaning. However, some tarot decks have imagery that is emotionally evocative in a way that can occasionally worry people. I always begin every tarot reading with this statement: there's a card in this pack called the Death card. If it comes up in your reading, it doesn't mean someone's going to die. It's only symbolic of an ending of some sort, perhaps a necessary ending to make way for a new beginning. Like a purification. It's extremely rare for it to mean real death. I tell you this now up front because if the Death card appeared in your layout, and I said this to you afterwards, you might think I was making it up about it not meaning real death, just to comfort you. Over the years I've had quite a number of people visit me for a reading who've told me that they've had a niggling fear because in a previous reading the Death card appeared and it had been playing on their mind ever since. Whenever someone comes with a burden of fear, it's important to be aware that fear can make a reading appear worse than it is. It can cause you to doubt or put a negative slant on anything you hear or see. Try to leave all preconceptions, fears and doubts at the door. Try the process from tip no. 2 and take a few deep breaths and in your imagination create a beautiful bubble around you, keeping you safe at all times. Just allow your cards to speak to you as openly and as unhindered as possible. Tip no. 5. Be open to change and allow the flow. Some of us think holding on makes us strong, but sometimes it is letting go. Hermann Hesse 1877, 1962. Do you have an agenda? There is no set period of time a person should leave between readings. It very much depends on the client and their circumstances. If there's a lot going on in your life and changes are imminent, then readings can be helpful to help you focus on priorities. The cards tend to pick up on the dominant energy of the moment. Any pressing emotions will usually reflect in your cards. So if your energy is flowing and changes are happening in your life, the readings will change because your energy is not stuck. However, there are occasions when a client is stuck and a problem or situation keeps repeating or won't resolve. Sometimes this causes the person to seek reading after reading in the hope that they'll hear what they want to hear. I've found that when certain clients visit very regularly, they usually have some agenda. Often this occurs when they are wanting and waiting in the hope that something will happen. This is a common situation, often in an unfulfilled relationship, when it involves the response of another person. Each time they seek a reading, they're hoping the cards will tell them that the relationship will develop in the way they want. The cards may be telling the client that the path forward at this time does not include that special person for whatever reason. Yet they may choose not to listen to the message of the cards. Sometimes they will reinterpret their readings to allow them to continue to hope for the outcome they want. Or they may even seek other tarot readers in the hope of hearing what they are desperate to hear. It can be a hard lesson sometimes to let go and move on. Once someone gets fixated on trying to create an outcome in their life which does not flow, and particularly if this involves another person, it becomes less and less likely it will happen. The way energy works is that as soon as there's too much push, or a need to try and control an outcome, energy goes out of balance. Any other person involved in this equation will be sensing this, even if not on a conscious level. The only energy we can control is our own. All good things need to be attracted. That is fundamental to the law of attraction. See tip no. 9. Another situation which can be an energy trap is when a person has chosen to tape record their reading. I'm not against recording a reading, for it can be helpful to re-listen just after the reading to pick up on anything that might have been missed. Sometimes it's a good idea to let a friend listen to the recording, as that can sometimes give some amazing extra insights. The danger lies in trying to live by the recorded reading and replaying it to check for its fulfillment. It's important to remember that any recorded reading was simply a reflection of your energy at the time of the reading. It's not a fixed truth. If you try to live by the recording, you will be attempting to live by the energy of the past. A month or two later your energy should have shifted, so it will be necessary to move on from listening to any recorded reading. Tip no. 6. Energy needs to flow. If you feel stuck, then it could be you are trying to force an issue in your life. You may need to accept that letting go is often a positive move. There came a time when the risk to remain tight in the bud was more painful than the risk it took to blossom. Anna S. Nin 1903, 1977. Allowing your reading to make a difference. Most tarot readers see the tarot as a service which provides clients with feedback, insights, and guidance from an external vantage point. I personally consider the tarot to be a form of life coaching, with the tarot cards providing an opening for the problems to surface. However, bear in mind that each reader has their own particular method. Whatever the style of reading, you should be given the opportunity to ask questions. In fact, it's a good idea to have a list of questions pre-prepared so you remember to ask those questions that are most important to you. If you find yourself wanting to ask questions at any stage of your reading, then go with that desire and ask. Don't hold back. There's nothing worse than leaving a reading wishing you'd asked a question or had something clarified. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Neither should you put the tarot reader on test to see if they can read you. If something is troubling you and after 2, maybe 3 spreads of the cards the message from the reading is not resonating with you, then be upfront and state what it is you need to know. If you have feelings of holding back just so the reader doesn't know too much, yet you are eager to learn something which could help you, it creates a sort of energy shield. The cards can end up muddled and not provide you with a clear message. To get the very best from your reading, stay centered on your issue when shuffling, then when you pass the cards to the reader, let go of any preconceptions, and trust. When I start a reading, I do 2 or 3 layouts for my client first without any questions being asked, just to see what the cards want to show. Certain cards often repeat in the layouts, and this often asserts the message that needs to be communicated. Between layouts, the client shuffles the cards so that they mix well. If the same or very similar cards keep presenting, then it is clear that the client has issues around that area. Often with repeated layouts the story unfolds and becomes clearer. Be aware that it is not always the issue you might think you are wanting to hear about. Usually it will come from your predominant energy at the time, and it could be a long-standing issue that underlies other more superficial issues. The cards will always offer a solution, often without asking. I've noticed that once the client really engages with the possible solution offered in the card's message, then the energy in that session can shift. The next layout will then present completely different cards, almost like a change of subject. This is good. It's like they are saying point made, move on. Next. When you leave the reading, don't start second-guessing or reinterpreting the message. This is particularly important if you've received positive guidance. Putting into action any positive advice will help any stuck energy or emotions shift, and you could well find events begin to unfold in a manner that you'd not have thought possible before your reading. If you begin to go down a path of action and it starts to feel wrong for you, then recognize this. Do not force yourself to do something just because it was said in a tarot reading. If something doesn't feel right, then don't do it. Now this might seem like a massive contradiction because I've indicated that the cards in the reading would have responded to your energy. But it could very well be that you yourself have deeply ambiguous feelings and are stuck in indecision over an issue. Starting on any course of action can help clarify what you really want, or do not want. The reading may have been prompting you out of being stuck in a state of indecision. Eliminating what you don't want can often help uncover your true feelings. In this way you can begin to learn to use your own inner guidance to help you make clearer decisions and get feedback from observing your feelings. So tip no. 7 is, use what you learn from your reading and take positive action. To wish to be well is a part of becoming well. Seneca. What the tarot is not. The tarot cannot and should not ever be a substitute for visiting a doctor regarding any health issue. When someone is worried about the health of themselves or a loved one, it's not uncommon to seek answers or solutions from many areas. The tarot is fundamentally a guide for you to reflect upon your thoughts and desires and assist you to focus on what you want from your future. Asking direct questions about health, either about yourself or others, would not be helpful. Stress underlies all disease, and any additional stress should be avoided. Seeking a reading in the hope of finding relief from a medical issue may provide some comfort, but it will depend very much on the reader. If you already know your tarot reader, then you will probably have built up some trust over time. If you can ask questions geared around possible choices which could help relieve stress, then this would be the most constructive use of the reading. But any element of fear or desperation around a health issue can cloud a reading. It would be wiser to take a meditation class and practice relaxation techniques. In this way you can learn to make a connection to your higher self and access the self-healing and inner wisdom that is available to everyone. This may also help you if it's someone close to you with a health issue. If you can learn to remain calm and relaxed and positive, then this will help the one you care about. The more a person worries about something, the energy around the problem increases. What you give attention to increases. This is the law of attraction at work, which does not distinguish between positive or negative thoughts or emotion. It's a non-judgmental, inert law. See tip no. 9. The best support you can give someone who is unwell is to help distract them from anything negative. By encouraging them focus on things that make them feel happy, you will have done them a good service. Tip 8 is a quote by the Dalai Lama. I believe that the very purpose of life is to be happy. From the very core of our being, we desire contentment. In my own limited experience, I have found that the more we care for the happiness of others, the greater is our own sense of well-being. Cultivating a close, warm-hearted feeling for others automatically puts the mind at ease. It helps remove whatever fears or insecurities we may have and gives us the strength to cope with any obstacles we encounter. It is the principal source of success in life. Since we are not solely material creatures, it is a mistake to place all our hopes for happiness on external development alone. The key is to develop inner peace. Dalai Lama. Take a deep breath and think of something that really makes you happy. We think in secret and it comes to pass. Environment is but our looking glass. James Allen 1864, 1912. Theories about how the tarot works. You may have realized by now that I believe there is no such thing as coincidence and that we each have our own energy field which overlaps beyond ourselves and out into our environment. As a tarot reader, I'm willing to admit that it could be this energy that I tap into and read. However, I also believe it's something more than this. Over the years the cards have shown me that even after repeated shuffling by the client between spreads, the same cards can reappear over and over in similar layouts with such significance that even I myself am sometimes spooked. There are several theories as to how the tarot works: synchronicity, which is just coincidence, channeled knowledge from another dimension, subconscious influences, or cards appear randomly and are given meaning through the act of interpretation, thinking outside the box when normally a person would try to logically resolve a situation. Then there is focused intent. This is my favorite explanation. The more the scientists discover about the field of quantum mechanics, the more amazing are the possibilities for, well, anything. Even the concept of space and time changes, with the potential for multiple universes all existing in the same space and the same time. In experiments with particles, it has been discovered that the simple act of observation changes the outcome of the experiment. So focusing on anything will have its own effect. The act of giving attention to anything seems to evoke energy and influence the outcome. This explanation enables me to trust the cards. By asking the client to give attention to what they want to know whilst they shuffle the cards, I believe the cards will arrange themselves in response to that client's attention. Whilst the cards are being shuffled, I keep my mind as neutral as possible. My belief is that we all create our own reality. If you would like to learn more about how this is so, there is a mass of unfolding information to be discovered on the subject of the law of attraction. If you have ever seen the DVD The Secret, you'll already have some idea about how this also relates to the emerging discoveries in the field of quantum physics. An explanation here of the subject of the law of attraction would be another book in itself. In fact, there are already many brilliant books available on the subject. Just do a Google search and you'll see. However, if you're new to the concept, I suggest you start by watching the DVD The Secret and take it from there. Learning how everyone's unique vibration of energies creates their reality is not just a simple matter of like attracts like. There are many subtle layers of understanding to this law. It can lead you on a wonderful journey of self-discovery. Tip 9, and another quote: sow a thought and reap a deed, sow a deed and reap a habit. Sow a habit and reap a character, sow a character and reap a destiny. What you believe is how it is for you. Your only obligation in any lifetime is to be true to yourself. Richard Bach. Timing. When is a good time to get a tarot reading? In an ideal world, life would flow in a way that we'd feel a sense of satisfaction and progression with the way things were unfolding. And although unfortunate things do sometimes happen and we all have challenges, we'd recognize these as opportunities through which to grow. Yet there are times when the path forward either seems blocked or things do not feel like they are flowing. Having a tarot consultation from someone outside your situation, someone with whom you don't have a personal attachment, can be helpful. However, avoid having a reading on impulse if you are in a state of panic. You will not be receptive to the true benefits of a reading when your energies are scattered and frazzled. Wait until you have calmed down. Then write a few constructive questions that you would like to ask. The following situations are examples of when it could be an opportune time for a tarot reading. If you have a difficult decision to make, then a reading can be useful to clarify your options and possibly look at factors you may not have properly considered. However, always bear in mind that you should not expect the tarot to make the decision for you. If you're beginning a new venture or project and want to consider all avenues of thought, the tarot can offer ideas that you may have overlooked which could increase your opportunities. If you've recently had lots of changes and need to clarify issues. If you're stuck in a rut and have a feeling of stagnation and want to move on, but feel you are being held back for some reason. Or maybe you're simply bored and you'd like to explore where you might like your life to go. When you are struggling with something in your life and want to gain a new perspective so that you can consider a course of action. When you've tried reading your own cards and are frustrated because you wonder with yourself, for example, if a card appears in your spread and you find you're tempted to place another one until you see what you want. I know, I've done it. When you feel you'd like to learn more about yourself and your potential and gain insight into future self-development. You may by now have come to the conclusion that tarot readings are not so much predicting what is going to happen to you, but more about who you are right now and what thoughts you are thinking which could be contributing to creating your future. If you have come to this conclusion, then you have gained a great insight into self-empowerment. We live in a very fair universe, for we can each choose our own thoughts. I'll admit that the discipline required to control those thoughts is sometimes great, and it's the great challenge of the human condition. Actually, it's not so much our thoughts we need to control, simply our emotions. If we can keep our emotions positive and optimistic, even in the face of adversity, then our thoughts will be positive and optimistic also. That is why we must choose our environmental influences with care. We can wallow in misery or choose to be grateful for something we have, no matter how small. There are always people who are better or worse off than us. It's every individual's choice to choose what to focus upon. Here is one last powerful quote for you: "We are what we are, because of the vibrations of thought which we pick up and register, through the stimuli of our daily environment." Napoleon Hill, 1883, 1970. I believe that personal development is something that should be part of everyone's life. There is room for improvement in anyone's life. Tip 10. Nothing is written in stone. The future can be molded and shaped. Be the creator of your own future. Who do you want to be? These 10 tips are by no means conclusive. There are areas I've not even mentioned, like spirit guides and other energies which we can sense intuitively. However, this guide will hopefully give you a better understanding of tarot readings and perhaps remove any of the unhelpful mystification surrounding the subject of theta. Intuition as a word covers a huge subject range. If you feel you are ready to learn more, please feel free to contact me via my website/blog, www.readmatarot.co.uk. I also offer life coaching with the help of tarot. After note: the power of words and imagery can affect us deeply. Even a painting on your wall in the living room will be influencing your mood. After all, that's probably why you chose the painting in the first place. By strategically placing positive imagery in places around your home, maybe in photo frames, you can begin to train your mind to think in positive ways and guide your life in the direction you want it to go. That's why I created my cards website, where you can send inspiring images with uplifting quotes to yourself and to friends and loved ones. They're all printable and postcard sized, so you can choose the best ones for you and put them around your living area. So take a look at my other website and be inspired. www.artaffirmations.com. 10 tips to get the best from your tarot reading.